Hi guys, so I'm back after a long trip. Of course not, just kidding. And I'm just gonna get right to it. I'm doing Keith Schiller, Trump's longtime bodyguard. Okay, and I'm doing him because he's been in the news this week. I forgot why. I think he's talking to the House committee or something like that. And I just wanted to find out more about him because he's one of these people who knows a lot. Sort of like Rona Graff. Rona Graff was his personal assistant, and I've done her. And I wanted to do him because he was important, right? He must know a lot. And one thing that I'm not seeing here that I thought would show up is the letter, because he was the person who went to Comey's office to deliver the Comey letter or whatever. And I'm not seeing it here, so it's interesting. It's like one of those things, you never know what's going to show up. And I'll just tell you what I see. It's one of those things where I get a sense of some clarity, yes, but it's not, or maybe it's not what I expected. I don't know. It's just showing that right away it tells me he's stalking and that he is going through a lot of heartbreak, actually, probably dealing with the situation he's in and describing what he knows. And it's almost like it shows him as a witness to a lot of emotional issues and some not money problems of his, some money issues with his former boss, I guess. But that in the end, he starts his life over. He tells what he knows and he starts over. So, okay, let's get started. All right. So the first card here is harvest, right? It's collecting money. That's when you literally are collecting money. It's not at the very top it's number 7. So it's not when you get to 10, that's the best money, the top. This is when you basically get the first, not the first, but sort of like good money rewards, just harvesting the money, okay? And here we have Fox. So whenever I look at Fox, to me, it doesn't mean a person, or at least in this series of readings, it means shady things behind our back, shady deals. So, okay, so underneath we have the birds, which is the card of conversations, talking, meetings, and the devil, okay, underneath. So what I believe this tells me is that these conversations are about the shady money deals to collect money behind the scenes. And the devil, like I've discussed this before, because of course it comes up a lot in anybody involved in the Trump administration. It's a card of illusions. It's a card of vice, a card of basically everything that humans, it's human, I don't want to say frailty is not the word, human weakness. So anything that's too much or that's delusional, or anything that's human created, anything. I think the devil card is essentially about sin in the pure sense of the word. If we look at it almost analytically, right? It's everything related to sin. Okay, if you look at it, it's saying he knows all the sins, and he's talking about the sins, and he's talking about the shady business dealings. Okay, and I guess the other thing when I first talked about this reading that I'm not seeing necessarily that I wanted to see was the ring card. It's not here, which would confirm to me that he has a deal. But at the same time, he's not in the government, right? So it's not like he's going to be charged or that he would be in any way like let's say that if you were to go to jail, in light of everybody else that's involved, it would be unfair because I don't think he's particularly involved. He's a witness to all of this, right? So anyway, so I'm not seeing this, but what I wanted to say is that because this card is at the center, and this is a card of talk and conversation, I feel like he's stalking. Okay, he's not. He may not have something such like a deal in the sense of he's not really being investigated, right? But he's telling people what he knows. That's what I feel. Okay, and because again, it's on the first column. it's it's the strongest message the cards can give you, is whatever the center of the reading is. So if they're telling me this, then it means he's talking about the sins, and he's talking about the behind the scenes money deals. Okay. So let's get to the background. Okay, the background of the reading. So here's a messenger. I think that's him. Okay, his role, and heartbreak and disappointment. Okay, so he is disappointed. And there's a reputation card, how you're perceived in public. And it shows here, like I said, the queens. This card has a stain in it. But basically the queens, I said this before, in this context, I see it more as a pure essence of whatever the element is. So it's swords. I feel it's about an analysis and cold intellect. So I feel like he's approaching his own, he understands, he's looking at his reputation in a sort of like a cold analytical mindset. At the same time that I don't say he's depressed, but he's heartbroken. Something, well, we can understand that, right? And I can understand the relationship he may have had with Trump. You know, he made it, I feel like, not to defend Trump at all, but I feel like there's a side to him that he must be, to some people, he must be nice, right? There's all these people who have worked for him for years. So on one, and these are working class, I don't know. I feel like there has to be something that connected him to some of these people for all these years. And I feel like maybe this is it. He's seeing the damage this man has done to the country at large. Of course, initially, it's possible that he didn't do damage to many people because, well, it's not, no, actually, that's not possible. But I guess what I'm saying is that he was definitely, it looks like he was loyal to him. And with everything that's happening now, he's heartbroken. Whether because he's in the process of making the decision of talking, or because the president treated him badly in some way. I don't know exactly, but he was sad, okay? And he's sort of like being stoic about it, but ultimately he's thinking for himself in a good way, right? He's like, okay, what about me? What about my reputation? And he's taking all these things into consideration, okay? So then, right next to it, we have on top the heart. And this is a card of travel, and this is the card of really moving on to something better. Literally, like this is you can see the waters is wild waters to still waters. So it's, the person is moving on to something better, and the heart, like I said, the heart when it comes up, especially in these readings, means this is where he is now, who he is right now, and what he's really going through. So he's in the process of moving on, okay? And because there's so many swords on the background, it tells me that he's going through sort of like a mental process, okay? It's very, very internal and that's what's on his mind. And that's what his energy is focused on. It's like this internal mind process of moving on, dealing with the heartbreak, being analytical, making decisions, okay? And then this other interesting combination would tell you a lot more. It's like this is the Knight of Cups. And I just looked it up again just to make sure I'm not. Sometimes I feel like, am I confusing all the knights, the pages, and so forth? But this is saying a person who's ruled by their emotions and doesn't understand. It's like the emotions, like mood swings, basically. So, okay, so the emotional swings in the White House, obviously. Apparently, I remember reading this, now that I said this, some article about how Keith Schiller was the only person who could handle Trump's emotional swings or something. So this is what it's saying. It's saying that in a way he's happy, right? It's hard, but it's the truth, like his truth, his internal truth, is that he's happy to move on from the emotionally volatile person at the White House, okay? And then we get to the center. And I'll do this quickly again, like I did the reading just right before this, the Lenormand storytelling quickly here, because it always adds a very interesting layer. So reputation of the White House, okay, and talks. So, and it's also like the moon in the Lenormand also has this like projections or dreams, or, right? So in a way, it's like he's talking about the idea and the ideals of the White House. And on top, he's the true messenger discussing shady things. Okay, what is the message about? In a way, you could say, what is the visitor discussing? Shady things. So he's happy to discuss shady things, or he's discussing the truth about shady things. Okay. And then going to the second part of the main reading, we have, and this is interesting to me, or how I read it a little bit less clearly. Okay. I'm going to show you this. Go like that and get from here. So this is a card of sometimes messages, but sometimes travel, but something happened very quickly and flowing very quickly. Mountain could be challenges, could be something that's happened for a long time. And this is upside down. So I think it's money problems, big scale money problems. And tree could be health. Okay. And I don't know if this is related to, because in a way it's funny, tree, I don't know why I associate it with money too, for some reason. Money tree, I guess. I don't know. But it's not, it's supposed to mean health and longevity and growth. But what I get here is that these two cards are related to time, long time. So in a way, I feel like financial difficulties. Oh, wait, why do I think that? It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be health. It could be health. Financial, something about, I feel like something quickly about I feel like maybe the discussions are maybe clarity about the financial difficulties or clarity about health difficulties. I don't think it's his. It's what he's witnessing. Going forward is all his witnessing. So I feel like he gained some sort of clarity, either about his own difficulty or his longevity and the hardships that he would have to deal with, or he's discussing what he's seeing with the president. Okay, this is not super clear, and I don't believe it's actually, in the scheme of the reading, not super important. But I feel like, maybe this is like a person taking stock of his life going forward. Okay. And then again here, this is why I also get the feeling of a person moving on. And this is having a hard time asserting himself, and maybe having a hard time adjusting to these changes. Maybe changes in residence, promotions, or moving on. It's really like, I feel like this reading is a lot about moving on. And here is a person who has a lot of ideas. He has new plans. Okay, he got some sort of gift and new plans. This is like a travel, positive improvement, and gifts. So gifts about travel, positive improvements. Okay. So I feel like he sees this as something positive. I know it's weird because it's like, I've said this before. There are two mind spaces for me. The ones when I'm looking at the cards and telling the story, and the ones when I shift back and look at the person. I'm like, wait, well, that guy? I'm thinking, in a way, I feel like I get inside of him a little bit more. But then when I look at him from the outside, I'm like, okay, that guy, he's not that great either. He beat people up and stuff. But that's what I'm seeing. Again, it's like a person dealing with changes, dealing with moving on, but having a lot of opportunities to move on. Okay. All right. Just drink something. And then we're moving on to the second part of the reading. And for some reason, I did pull out more. I did pull out the second part of the reading, just that usually talks about the legal situation. But I really, again, I don't think he's under any real legal problem. It's just more, it just expands his own story and the story he tells. Okay. So let's get started with the first row, which is the whip is a card of stress, fighting. Sometimes it can be sex, but I don't think it's here in this case. But it's like it's like physicality in a way. So stress, repetition and physicality. So stress, pain, but not emotional pain, but just like exhaustion. Okay, so this is a person working. So his job was very exhausting. This is a partnership. This could be his marriage. I somehow don't think it is, just because of the question and the reading. This is a partnership or some sort of business partnership that is like not. I don't want to say it's his own guilt, but it's a heavy burden to carry. So in a way, he probably feels like the relationship he had with Trump was his karma. Like he had to carry this cross, okay? And the Page of Wands, as I've discussed before, reversed means bully, a person who's very critical, very mean, basically bullying, essentially. Like especially like a younger person, like a younger bully, like a school kid bully, which is the worst bully. So it's saying that his job was very demanding, very strenuous, and that the business partnership that he had was actually like a heavy weight on him, and that in a way this is expansion, right? So he helped expand the bullying. He was part of the bullying, or he helped expand it. So this caused pain. Like I can see here first, stress, pain, and here it's the burden that he carries about this. Okay. All right. So then on the second row, it confirms what he sees. I think so. This is the garden, and the garden is a card of everything that happens in public. Okay, so it's not your reputation, but events in public, events where people are. Okay, and this is the Queens. I've said before, it's the essence of the element, right? So it's upside down, so it's like emotional. So he sees a lot of emotional volatility in public, groups of people. He sees, this is a card, the Two of Pentacles reversed, a person who can't do their job, to overwhelm the details, the boss. So his boss can't do his job. And again, it repeats the same thing. Here's the overspending and the older man. So he sees in public emotional, what's the word? Yeah, just emotional volatility, tantrums in public, the boss who can't do his job, the older man who overspends. Okay, so that's it's almost like if you take if his eyes are a camera, that's what he's seeing. Okay, and at the end, and I think this is pretty interesting to me, kind of like a new narrative, because all these narratives are pretty similar, right? It's like, oh, the person gets money from Russian government, whatever, gets money in illicit ways, then everybody knows, and then they go to jail. By it's kind of like it has been in some ways predictable, but this isn't, right? So this is a card of poverty, right? This is a card, I've used this card a lot for election. It's a card of choice or options, but I don't think this is about the elections, about him. Okay, I'll put these together. Okay. Okay. So here, I think what I feel this means, okay, this is okay, again, financial hardship, choosing. So I feel like it's almost like he's saying, I'd rather be poor. And this is a card of opportunity. And in a way, I feel like this is a card of a person who's declining an opportunity and cut. So in a way, there's an ending to the opportunities, or I feel like in a way, it's interesting because both he's making a choice here and he's also having choices removed from him. But ultimately, the Fool here is a new beginning, very clear. Like I said, the Fool can be many things, can be an actual fool. It could also be a new start, and the Sun. So I feel like actually it's saying he says to himself, he's making kind of a tough choice. He's like, I'd rather be poor and run the risk of getting all the opportunities cut from me than, I guess, keep on going the way I'm going. And then as a result, he gets a fresh start in the Sun. So again, the Sun in the way that I never read the Sun in these readings, which is actually vitality and great luck. So I feel like by making the choices of poverty, I think in a metaphorical sense, not that he's going to be poor, but taking the risk of not knowing where the money is going to come from and losing, like cutting the opportunities out, a lot of new things. He's going to start over and it's going to be good for him. And I'll just show you why I think this is the direction where it's going, because we have here, like I said, I showed this before, the heart and the Six of Swords, so person moving on. So I feel like he's going through this moment in his life where he's moving on. He's seen all of this. He talks about it. He talks about the sins of the boss that the boss that can do his job, the boss that overspends, the sins and the backdoor dealings. but ultimately he's happy, and he, in the end, in the very end, he'll be rewarded for what he's done, because this, I guess, relationship he's had with Trump caused a lot of grief to him over time. Okay? All right. So that was Keith Schiller. Thanks for watching.